And without further ado, here's Stephen from Decimated, and we can't wait to show you what they've been working on. Stephen, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your history, were you a gamer, and what we can expect coming forward from Decimated?
Hi Mike, thanks for getting me on the show. I'm Stephen Arnold, I'm the CEO and Creative Director of Fracture Labs, the developers of Decimated. I've been working in the video games industry for around 16 years on a lot of AAA titles, including World of Tanks, 2K Games Evolve, The Division, Cyberpunk 2077, and many others. I started working on my own video games back in 2014, and I self-funded a small game called Hide and Shriek Mansion, which is on IndieDB. And then 2017, I decided to work on a more ambitious project with a Web3 economy. So I was really early. Started that project and self-funded it from 2017, incorporated the company in 2018, and over the last few years I've been building up the studio, raising capital and increasing our brand awareness. And now we're in closed alpha, so we've been working really hard to get to this point and letting our community in to play test the game now. But yeah, I mean, I've been working in game development for, like I say, the last 16 years. Prior to that, I was a professional music producer and DJ, and I kind of wanted to get involved in the games industry on the audio side, but my career kind of went through lots of different aspects of video game production, initially with QA testing, localization, voiceover in different European languages. Then I got into art, animation, cinematics, and VFX production, predominantly in Unreal Engine, but we also worked with some studios with their own proprietary tech as well. And it was at that time when I realized that I was making a lot of money for the studios that I was working for. And I had a lot of ideas. So I basically started working on my own projects, supervising my own teams, until eventually, I started working on Decimated in Unreal 4. So that was many years ago, and we've come a long way since then.
That's really impressive, and it's nice to have that light bulb moment. It's like, I'm making all these guys money, but I have to follow constraints, so might as well focus on what I want to do and be able to create the vision that I see. So it's nice to be able to see that coming with Decimated. Just for our audience, were you a gamer growing up as well? Like, do you have favorite video games that you played in the past?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even when I was like 4 or 5 years old, I think the first computer that I ever had was a Commodore Plus 4, playing Treasure Island and all these old retro games. I grew up playing Sega Master System, Mega Drive, Nintendo, etc. And then PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and all the other Nintendo games. So I've always been a huge gamer. And then, of course, when I was old enough to afford a PC rig, then I'd be playing a lot of games like Fallout and Hitman and lots of other PC games. And now, I mean, my favorite game right now is Cyberpunk 2077. Love that game. I love the style. I love the gameplay. I was also a huge fan of DayZ and Arma Wasteland, which is actually what Decimated is based on. Essentially, it's exactly like DayZ or Arma Wasteland. I've been a gamer all my life, and I actually never expected that my career would lead me to having my own game dev studio. But that's just the way things kind of pan out over time. But like I say, I did music first, and I wanted to do music for games. But then I ended up getting into all these other aspects of production and learning about all the different departments until eventually I had my own studio. So yeah.
Well, congratulations. That's a pretty cool progression from gamer, get inspired, then want to create your own games. And then what's nice about crypto is it's almost like a crowdfunding platform in itself. Like, sure, some things might have to do with speculation, but it's so much easier to get money from VCs and the crowd, like your community. So it's kind of nice when you've got investors in your project that they're also excited to see your vision come to life, and like really see your vision come to fruition in a great game. So speaking of that, I noticed on your website that the last like major update that you had was November 16th, I believe. So what have you guys been working on now, and what can we expect in the near future?
In December, we launched closed alpha. So we started letting in our community members, our veterans that are above level 25 in Discord, as well as some influencers, some investors and publishers as well, to playtest the current version of the game. So that's been our most major milestone. That's what we were working all year towards, was getting the game out in the closed alpha state and issuing Steam keys to people so they can come and playtest the game in its current state. Right now what we're doing is we're currently working on an NFT drop, which we didn't actually plan to do, but we're going to do an NFT drop of our profile pictures. And we're working on the open alpha as well, which will take a few months. We're setting a deadline for the end of 2024 to release the open alpha version. But obviously, between now and then, there's going to be lots of little milestones that we'll have, and letting the community into a newer, updated version of the closed alpha. But there's a lot of things that we've got on in the pipeline that we can't talk about because we're still under NDA and in negotiation with certain parties. But I think that right now our main focus is adding more content to the game, including missions, more vehicles, improving the vehicle physics, listening to the community's feedback from the playtest that we've had in the last month, and just tweaking things, changing the weapons, adding more weapons so there's more content in the game for our players to purchase. We're adding shops and marketplaces so people can buy consumables inside the game as well. So there's a lot that we're working on. In fact, because we're still in January, January this year has pretty much been working out our entire milestones and our roadmap for the entire year for all the different departments. So basically all the leads from all the different departments are getting together and working out what are our goals for this year, what can we achieve with the budget that we have, and how long will it take us to reach each of these different milestones. So there's a lot that we can discuss, especially in this video as well.
That sounds great. So just like jumping back a little bit to the closed alpha, I know we missed out on it. Is there any other events coming up where players who are interested in testing it out can give the game a try?
Yeah, sure. So we invite people into our Discord community. There's no requirement such as like buying our tokens or buying any NFTs or anything like this to be able to play test the game. But we are rewarding more loyal members of our community who are active and who have leveled up just through being active inside our Discord community. But what we're doing is we're lowering the tiers as time goes on. So initially it was tier 25, level 25, those who had been in the community for a significant amount of time and who are contributing quite a lot to the community, and some who've actually ended up becoming mods as well, and helping to moderate the Discord server. But yeah, like I say, we're lowering the tiers. The more people can come in and play test the game, and we're probably going to do that in the next few weeks. We've already brought on a few influencers as well to play test the game. So if you guys want some Steam keys, we can issue you some Steam keys. One thing I should clarify is that although the game is on Steam right now, because of Steam's terms and conditions on Web3 associated games, I think it's likely that we're probably going to focus more on Epic Games Store. Epic Games, I mean, we received an Unreal Mega grant from those guys a few years ago. They know exactly what we're working on, and they encourage us to list the game on the platform. We currently have our game in the stage environment on Epic Games Store, so it's not published publicly yet, but it's there. We've got it there. But at the moment we're issuing Steam keys, but we're probably not going to publish the game on Steam unless Steam will allow us to because of our association with Web3. So we'll have to see how that works out in the next few months.
Okay, great. So if someone's watching this and they want to participate in the game, jump in your Discord, be an active community member, chat with the mods, and once they see your face from time to time and they're helping out with the community, they might be able to go in for the ask for a Steam key?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great to hear. So now let's dive into the game. So I know the full game isn't released yet, but we're seeing so much from the trailers and things. And one thing that jumps out is like the cyberpunk style, like you said, you were inspired before, and it dives into a world where you might need to worry about, filling up your oxygen so you don't suffocate. There's different zones. There's red and green. There's PvE. There's PvE. So it seems like there's a lot going on. So can you kind of break us down what your vision is for that?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, our game is really, really inspired by DayZ and Arma Wasteland. So those are the games that we're predominantly being inspired by for this project. And we're not deviating too much from the gameplay of those types of games. The only thing is that stylistically, Decimated is obviously a more cyberpunk, post-apocalyptic kind of game. So we have 3 different factions that players can choose to play: the cyborg cops, the human citizens, and then the wasteland marauders or the raiders. And they're all separate factions. So we'll have voice over IP, so people can talk to each other inside those different factions, and they'll be essentially competing with all the other players for all the different types of missions and rewards that we have in the game. Types of missions that there will be in the game would be escorting or destroying vehicle convoys that are carrying certain types of cargo, finding a crashed ship that has NPCs spawned around it. They're guarding some expensive loot, and of course that'll appear on the map. Players will congregate to that area from different areas, they'll shoot each other, they'll shoot the NPCs, and whoever's the last man standing or the last clan standing will get to get all the loot. But they still have to safely extract from that area and then bank the things that they've earned by getting safely to an extraction zone. And of course, I mean, we're planning to have the PvE type of missions where players would transport cargo from point A to point B. And these are all things that we're going to be developing this year and integrating over time. So yeah, and PvP, of course, because the players will always be shooting each other. We don't have friendly fire, so if you shoot your friends, then you could kill them or knock them unconscious. But of course, players can choose if they want to be a medic, and if they are a medic, then they can heal other players faster. And at the moment, the medics and also the mechanics are subclasses of the three main factions. But we're thinking maybe in the future we might have the medics and the mechanics as separate factions, but at the moment they're not. They're basically part of the three main factions: the cops, the citizens, and the marauders. So yeah, we've got lots of different types of vehicles, yeah, there's combat mechanics in there. We're planning to have melee combat in the next few months as well. But yeah, I mean, if you play Arma Wasteland or DayZ, our game is pretty similar to those two games, but also with a marketplace economy as well, so people can actually go into shops and then they can buy consumables, and they can also trade them as well. So yeah.
Okay, nice. And you talked briefly about car mechanics there. So our writer Jeff, he loves Mad Max, and he was wondering, so is there going to be an element where you'll be able to be in cars like one faction against another faction, and you're like racing towards like a destination, and like you're going to have an arms battle there as well, like car to car?
Yeah, so that's another type of mission that we plan to have is kind of like races. So, and we do also plan to have vehicles with turrets on the back as well, turret guns. So there will be the possibility that players will be able to undertake missions and then compete against each other to reach certain checkpoints and also shoot each other on the way. So yeah, but we also plan to have not just vehicle racing, but also because we have jetpacks and we've got the parkour mechanics, so that you can vault over walls, you can climb up walls, you can vault over obstacles and things like this, and you can use your jetpack You can use your jetpack to a certain extent because obviously it has fuel and then it runs out and then you have to add more fuel to it. Much like a survival game, everything is kind of scarce. So we plan to also have races where you're going to be running over the rooftops of our container city, and you've got to hit all the checkpoints and then, you know, maybe carry some piece of equipment, for example, and then any time that you're holding that piece of equipment, then everybody else will be able to see that that's the player that's got the item, and then they can shoot you, pick it up, and then they can continue running with it.
With that and exploring the world, can you kind of paint us a picture about it? Because like with different games, like for instance, old school Call of Duty, they've got one game where it's like team deathmatch or survival or domination, and like you just go into that match or that world for 10 minutes. And then you've got their other game where it's like big open world and you're there kind of like Fortnite style, fighting to the last man. So Decimated sounds different than that. So are you just going to always be in this one big open world? Is there different instances? How is that gameplay going to work?
Yeah, so we have multiple servers in different regions around the world, so players can join the server that's closest to them so that they don't have a major amount of lag or ping. And each of the servers will be duplicates of the same map that we're developing, but we're developing two maps. So right now we've got the Death Valley map, which you've seen videos of. So that has lots of different biomes. We've got the container city, the container cargo area, Station 6, which is kind of like a train station. We've got a garbage dump area, we've got a trader outpost, and lots of other kind of areas, as well as lots of settlements in between all those major points of interest, refineries, factories, all this kind of stuff. So already the map that we've created is, I think it's 4 square kilometers right now, which is already quite sizable for the amount of players that we have per server. We're typically testing with about 50 players per server, but we're going to try and push that up to about 100 players per server if we can. And of course, the second map that we develop is pegged to be about 8 square kilometers. That's going to have more jungle biome and swamp as well, swamp areas. So then we'll have the desert canyon areas with the desert biome, the jungle areas and also the swamps. So that'll be about twice the size of the map that we've got right now. But yeah, I mean, our game is not session based, so we have persistent online servers. They do reset every 24 hours, so that then we flush out any weapons that are maybe stuck in walls or stuck under the ground, for example, and we reset the servers back to their default position, with the exception of where the players are and where their vehicles are, where they left them. And if we add the building mechanics, which we plan to in the future, any of the fixtures that players have put down in the map where they've fortified a building, for example, will all stay there on the servers as well. But it'll be a case of any time that you log in, you'll log in with the save inventory that you had previously, unless you got killed, because if you get killed then you start off with nothing again. Right, so you log back in, you continue from where you left off, you've still got all the gear that you had in your backpack, your vehicle will still be there, and then you can continue from where you left off. And there will be new missions to do in different positions, there will be players with different bases and different areas. So yeah, I mean, eventually people will understand where everything is on the map, but it'll take a while because the map is so big. So we really want to encourage people to explore the map, but the mission system is going to direct players to different points of the map. So all the different missions that I described earlier, when players accept the mission, then a waypoint will appear and they'll be able to see on their minimap exactly where to go. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you talked a little bit about being killed there and like losing everything. So in a survival or a red zone, what happens when you die? Because you talk a little bit about maybe needing oxygen and things like that. So you have like different weapons, you have maybe if you're on a mission, you might have a different object that you're transporting if you're on a survival mission or a courier mission. So like if you're on one of those, like do you lose absolutely everything? Like how do you get your items back, like scavenging around the map? Can you like be killed quickly when you have no item? Like is there a respawn grace period? How's that going to work?
So at the moment we don't have the green zones and the red zones that we have described, because that's something that we are planning in the future, but we don't have it at the moment. So essentially the entire wasteland is an entire PvP deathmatch arena with different types of missions that are going to be integrated in the next few months. But yes, if we do include the red zones and the green zones you won't be allowed to kill other players inside those areas. That's areas where people can gear up, they can go to marketplaces, they can repair their vehicle, they can buy new weapons or skins, for example, they can buy food and drink, etc. And they can equip their character in order to be able to do different types of missions. And of course, like I say, you won't be able to kill other players inside those areas. We might even disable the ability to shoot weapons inside those green zones, but this is a nice to have feature, not a need to have feature for us right now. Right now, the need to have features are the missions and the shops and the marketplaces, so that people can gear up and trade, right? But the green zones and the red zones is something that we plan to do, I think probably for beta, I would say, which will be at the end of 2024. But in the red zones, of course, those are where we would place the high risk, high reward missions. So the missions that have the highest amount of reward and maybe the hardest bosses. And of course, yes, in those areas, if you get killed, you lose everything. I mean, you when you get killed, but the thing is, we have, you don't necessarily get killed every single time that you get shot, right? Because we also plan to have the unconscious state, which we're planning this year. That's going to be integrated this year. So you can be knocked unconscious, and then a medic can revive you. So you've still got a fighting chance of surviving and completing the mission. But if you do get killed, much like in DayZ or Arma Wasteland, players will loot your body and then they'll take your stuff. They would also be able to take your vehicle and drive it, but we plan to have a mechanic where if you've purchased a vehicle and it's really valuable to you because it's your vehicle, it's like a lizard skinned buggy, for example, that will respawn back into your garage when the other player destroys it. And we could even have a self-destruct system as well, so that if somebody steals your vehicle, then you can just self-destruct it and blow it up while they're driving it. Also, but yeah,
nice,
I think that
Easter egg, hey?
Yeah,
maybe some satisfaction after death. You just like was like the original Call of Duty. It was like martyrdom. You drop a grenade when you die, kind of vibe.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
But awesome. I mean, obviously, a lot of the items won't have a significant amount of value. So people are going to be shooting each other and then looting each other's bodies for, just food and drink, ammo clips, maybe a weapon. But there's limited amount of things that you can actually carry on your player and also inside your vehicle at any given moment in time. So players they'll be able to purchase items with our virtual currency and kind of have their storage filled up with stuff that they want to play with. and then they'll just choose what they want to risk getting, what they want to risk losing inside the game world. So yeah, it's a very, very competitive game. Very, very, there's lots of skill involved, but there's all the different mechanics that we have give people different advantages, and there's pros and cons of having certain items in your inventory. Like if you're using jetpacks, then sure, you can actually fly higher rather than just climbing up certain obstacles. But then you make yourself an easy target because other players can shoot you out the sky. So yeah.
Speaking about being specific skilled and then different elements of the game, we've heard a little bit of talk about weather, so maybe some rain and things like that. Is that going to come in? Is that going to affect the gameplay? Like, will it be more like a beauty aesthetic, or will it be more of like, oh, the rain is actually damaging my gear type thing?
Yeah, so already in the closed alpha we have sandstorms. So every 15 minutes or so, then a sandstorm will sweep across the map. And it does cause damage. So the players have to seek shelter. They can seek shelter inside buildings, underneath bridges, or inside vehicles, but not inside buggies or the monobikes because they're still exposed to the elements. And that's the first type of weather effect that we've integrated into the game. But yes, we are planning to have other types of weather effects, storms, thunderstorms, acid rain, and other types of elements. So yeah, they will have an impact on the player. In some cases, they'll cause damage. In some cases, they might cause sickness if we add, because at the moment we don't have the sickness level. We've got the blood level, health level, and the thirst and the hunger level. But of course, we can add on additional stats that players could have, like in DayZ. So they could get sick if they're out in the rain, for example. So. Yeah, I mean, those are all planned. Those are definitely something that we want to have, not just for aesthetic value and to make the game more immersive and cinematic, but also to affect gameplay as well. Yeah, I mean, even things like earthquakes, for example, I think would be really interesting to have. I think that it might be too ambitious for us to have earthquakes that cause, seams in the world to open up. I mean, this is something that I thought of years ago, but technically, it's quite difficult to do this. It's really, really difficult to do this because then you're talking about deforming the landscape, which would be amazing to do, but in an open world multiplayer game, it could be quite a challenge. So we have to be smart and logical about what we can actually achieve. And I mean, earthquakes shaking the environment, having lots of VFX and dust falling and things like that, and maybe the players have to get to safety, otherwise things might fall on them, for example, is something that could be achievable. But yeah, thunderstorms, sandstorms, acid rain, things like this are definitely something that we'll have in the next few months.
Nice, yeah. It seems like a really big, ambitious project. But like you said, beta is going to be coming at the end of 2024. So for this, obviously this is future Decimated, but given that we're in blockchain gaming and everything revolves around token economies, NFTs, and things like that, a lot of things like we saw in 2021 with Axie that bring people into it is there going to be a potential to earn money? Now, that doesn't necessarily need to be in a game, but it's often okay, is this game going to be play to earn? Like, my main goal is to be earning, or is the goal more like, you know what, we were just building a game because we want people to have fun. Maybe they can earn some money on the side. What's the end goal for Decimated on that one?
Yeah, so, I mean, when I first started the project in 2018, the original vision was to have an open world sandbox survival game with a blockchain economy where the items were NFTs and players could earn our virtual currency from doing all the different types of missions inside the game, and they could trade with each other, etc., etc. So at the moment, our in-game currency is still used as a means of payment for all of the in-game items. So much like V-Bucks or other virtual currencies in games, people can buy that first, either in-game or on our website or from the secondary market, for example, and then they can spend that inside the game to buy items inside the game and skins for weapons and things like this. What we plan to do is, I mean, we were planning to have an emissions system where players would be earning our tokens from doing different types of missions. But at the same time, this presents a lot of risks, with issuing tokens inside a game that's not necessarily on-chain, right? Because our game is not on-chain. And so we're doing something similar to what other projects are doing now, which is more kind of like a play to airdrop type of system, where we're going to have a leaderboard system. So people will play the game, and we'll have certain tasks and challenges, and we'll reward the players who either kill the most NPCs, who complete the most amount of missions, who win the most amount of races, who drive the most amount of kilometers, or whatever. I mean, every single week or every fortnight or every month, we'll have different goals that we'll set for the players, and the players will play those, and then we will issue rewards to the best performing players. I think that this is the best way to do things because it doesn't present any risks of there being exploits where people are finding ways to farm tokens or cheat and then maybe try and hack the game or maybe use bots to try and farm tokens, for example. With this methodology, we still maintain control and we're still rewarding the best performing players with tokens. So we still have a kind of, I guess you could call it play to earn, but it's not on chain. It's not all automatic. We have deadlines planned where we'll reward players at the end of each deadline. And at the moment, for example, we have Zeely campaigns and competitions that we run in our Discord channel, and we're rewarding players or rewarding our community members for participating in that. So it'll be much the same as that, except it'll actually be in-game. But of course, this kind of thing evolves over time. It has evolved over the last 6 years, and now that we're actually at the integration stages of the entire economy, and that's where we're kind of fine-tuning it and working out what's the best way to do it, but also the best and the lowest risk way to do it as well, that's fair for everybody.
Yeah, that's super important because like we see so many times where games like over focus on the token and try and like do everything, and then you get people coming into the game to only earn token to sell it on the market to then crash the token economy price. So with this play to airdrop, you're more focused on players coming in and physically doing the grind and being able to prove the grind, and then it's like a fun airdrop reward versus grinding specifically to dump the token. Because we see games like Fate and Arena, like it was really popular. It was kind of like League of Legends. It got really big in 2021. Token economy didn't really work out, and then it lost like all its action, even though like for the type of game it was fun. Now Decimated is obviously like a much larger scale than something like Fate and Arena, but when you're putting that much effort into a big game, if you have like a big risk where someone could just come and exploit and then dump the token price, it could really harm your growth. So it's nice to see that you're doing something like play to airdrop where it's actually going to be the grinders, the people that are involved in the community as well as playing the game that are going to get rewarded. So that's really good.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, our exec producer has got a lot of experience working on other open world games, multiplayer games, either for mobile or for PC. He's a lot older than I am and has got decades more experience than I have of working on projects like this. And so I trust his judgment when it comes to how we balance the economy and how we make the game fun and still deliver on our promises to have a token economy, but also not make it an exploitable economy, right? So it's something that we, as the developers, we still have the levers on the back end to adjust things so that the game is fun and fair, and the rewards are also issued in a secure manner,
So with that, talking about the economy, it always comes back to token price, not so much for the gamers, but for the investors. So the focusing on the play to airdrop instead of just like, diluting your token, that's really nice to see. But have you guys thought of anything now since GameFi really exploded a few game projects, and luckily yours was in there as well? Your token price is pretty much almost 8x from where it was in the bear market. So do you guys have any mechanisms to focus on, the economy and token price and market makers and things like that on that side of the game?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that the secondary market is an entirely different ball game. We are working with market makers. We also do market making internally to make sure that there's enough liquidity on the exchanges. But we're also listed on, I think that the decentralized exchanges are where there's most significant amount of volume and where I think most people are actually trading our token. So I think that, obviously what we're focusing on is the game and the utility for the token and how the token can be spent inside the game, and as I mentioned, the rewards that we'll issue to the players for playing in the game. But we don't have any control over the token performance outside of the game, really. I mean, it's very, very unpredictable, and we never know, when there's a big green candle, we never know why there is a big green candle, because we're always working really hard on this project and we're always trying to get people to know about it, reaching out to influencers, marketing the project, going to conferences, speaking at conferences, doing things like this, AMAs and things like this. But it's ironic that things seem to go viral when you least expect it, and you're like, what did we do differently this time that made the token price go up? What did we do differently that got a sudden wave of new people in our Discord community or followers on Twitter? And you never know, but it's just because there's some community out there that will discover us all at once, and they're all like, wow, have you heard about Decimated? Wow, have you heard about Decimated? And then everybody comes in, and we've got a whole bunch of new fans, and it's really, really good. I mean, it's a slow process, it takes a long time, but our goal is just growth in all aspects of production. We want to grow the product, we want to grow our team, we want to grow the company, we want to grow our community, and we want to grow our economy. So yeah, all the things that we're just working towards, it's like we're always striving for more and better and greater success.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and it is funny how you never know what it's going to do. And for you guys watching at home, essentially Decimated went back to private sale throughout the bear market, and then in October we started to see it go just above private sale a little bit, and then YouTubers started talking about GameFi, and things got exciting, and then Decimated was one of those projects that got talked about by some early YouTubers and then some big YouTubers. And then I don't know if you're familiar with Neo Tokyo, but it's Alex Becker and Elio Trades community, and they've got a big GameFi ecosystem, and they only talk about games that they're really excited about, and Decimated got put into that group. So that's nice and exciting to hear that you have supporters from Alex Becker and Elio Trades that are really trying to bring GameFi not only to crypto audiences, but to the masses. So that's nice to see that you have that type of support, because if they're talking about it, that there's so many times in crypto you see it's whether it be the token price or the game, it shoots up and then does the Burj Khalifa, just drops right back down, and there's nothing of substance the team gives up. But when you see Alex Becker and Elio Trades and other people like that talking about a game like this, as well as seeing everything that you're doing behind the scenes to build it up, for the community, those of you watching at home, you can have so much confidence that this is something with longevity. So I'm just curious, have you had conversations with Elio Trades and Alex Becker?
We've spoken to them very loosely. I am connected with them on Telegram, and obviously we're in the Neo Tokyo group. But we're more in contact with the admin and the mods of the Neo Tokyo community. So I think that they know about us, but they're obviously very busy guys, so we don't speak directly with them very often. I think that, I could give a shout out to Hustlepedia, CryptoStash, and Goatfather. Those guys have been really supportive of our project. They've play tested the game as well. And I think that when they mention us, it does have a kind of ripple effect, because there's lots of other influencers, big, large, and small, big, medium, and small, who then learn about us through these other influencers that really like what we're building, So. But we're also working with traditional influencers as well in the traditional video games industry. Some of the channels that we work with have got more than 500,000 or 1 million subscribers, because we are still targeting traditional gamers. I mean, we're making a game that is for traditional gamers, but it also appeals to the Web3 gamers as well. So we've got the Venn diagram of traditional gamers here and the Web3 gamers here, and we're going for the guys that are right in the middle. But of course, there's some kind of crossover to the traditional gaming community as well. So yeah, we don't exclude the traditional gaming influencers, and I think that those guys have got significant numbers of subscribers, so we like to go for those guys too and work with those people too.
Yeah, I can't wait to see Allier covering Decimated in a year or so. That'll be great. So talking again, coming back to the game, you talk about a little bit about having some user-generated content and being able to create some things that you own in the game. So can you give us an example of what some goals are for the user-generated content that people can create for Decimated in the future?
I mean, we've spoken to a third-party company that specializes in user-generated content. They have their SDK integrated into other projects like Cyberpunk 2077 and Skyrim and Fallout. And we've spoken to them, and we're under NDA, so we can't really go into too much detail about that. But it's something that's planned for the future. That we would. I mean, it's not something that we're working on this year, but if there's significant player base and justification for us to then add on the UGC support, then what we would do is we would have customizable characters, customizable vehicles, customizable weapons, where players may be able to put decals on their vehicle to personalize it, for example. So that's really what the vision was originally. But given like our budget and timeline, UGC it's been kind of put on the product backlog. So customizable vehicles, customizable weapons, customizable characters are something that we're not focusing on for 2024. I think that what we're going to do this year is mainly focus on pre-designed characters and vehicles and weapons designed by our dev team. But yeah, I mean, if there's a significant amount of players that are playing the game and revenue increases and there's an interest for there to be customizable content, then the good thing is that we're already designing everything in a customizable way, but we're customizing them internally. But of course, if we want to make it customizable from a user perspective, there's a huge amount of development that needs to be done in order for that to be achievable. But we'll see if we can get to that stage. That was part of the original vision, but the original vision basically gets tighter and tighter as we get closer and closer to launch. But yeah, it would be really, really fantastic to have that in the future. But it's a big ask. So our plans for this year, in Q2 we plan to do an NFT drop, but this won't be NFTs of game items. We're just going to do NFT profile pictures. We're also working with an external studio to develop another game for us, which is going to be completely different from Decimated, but there will be interoperability with the tokens and also the profile pictures. We're launching our marketplace and also the user registration system, so people can create an account and then they can store their profile picture on it. They can also store their tokens in their custodial wallet, their in-game wallet, and they'll be able to make purchases of the in-game items inside our marketplace, and they can trade them as well if they want to. As for the gameplay, so we plan to have more missions. Missions is our main priority right now. There will be different types of NPCs as well, so we're going to have cannibal raiders with more melee attacks rather than shooting. Right now we've got robots, so we're going to have different types of robots as well. Cargo robots, military robots, cop robots, etc. We're also going to have homeless addicts who won't be hostile NPCs, but they will be there inside the game world to kind of populate the game world and make it and bring it, give it a bit more life. And players will be able to choose if they want to treat them fairly or treat them badly, and they'll, there will be consequences for treating those NPCs badly. I think that the mission system is obviously the most important, because that's going to give a lot more purpose to the game world. Right now we've got like an open world survival game with PvP, but adding the missions means that we'll have the players teaming up with each other to do these missions and compete against other players. We'll also have different types of vehicles, we'll have different types of weapons. We're currently doing an overhaul of the vehicles and the weapons right now, that will be adding more types of vehicles, more types of weapons, different types of skins. So there'll be a lot more content to choose from and content to purchase. And of course, we're going to be balancing out the vehicle physics. We're going to be improving the jetpack physics and polishing the game world, and also adding map 2, which will be our open world, a much bigger open world map with the jungle biomes and the swamp areas as well. So these are all the things we're working on this year, and this is all in-game content as well as all the front end and back end content that we're doing on the website. So there's a lot of work that's going on this year, as well as listing on more exchanges and working with partners. So yeah, there's a lot in the pipeline. It's going to be an exciting year. Well, I think that we've already laid down the foundations of a really amazing game with the parkour mechanics, the jetpacks, the vehicles, the combat, exploration, the survival mechanics. So really what we're going to do is improve on all those systems and then adding the missions, so that then you can use all of these different types of ways to get around the world to do the different types of missions available. So yeah, this year our plan is just to add more content to the game so that people are playing the game for a lot longer. Even now, people are playing the game for like 4 hours each session, which is a really long amount of time, and that's even without missions. Right now it's mainly just exploration and PvP, but with the missions, yeah, I think people are going to be playing this game religiously, so that's going to make the game really, really immersive.
Okay, well, Stephen, we've learned so much today. I'm even more excited about Decimated now. I know a lot of our audience is going to want to go into your communities and your Discord and try and get one of these access codes to try it out. I know that we're really excited here at Fungible to play the game ourselves, so hopefully we can get one of those access codes from you. So again, thank you for your time. Where should people go to find out more about you and follow along the journey of Decimated?
Yeah, it's really easy. I mean, people can go to our website, decimated.net. We recommend people join our Discord, which is discord.gg/decimated. And our Twitter account is, or X, twitter.com/decimated_game. Those are the three main places where you can get updates and you can be part of the community, and you can also subscribe to our newsletter and also eventually sign up to the game as well on our website. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, that's awesome. Thanks a lot for coming on today, Stephen. Appreciate it.